From Super League to Olympic distance to age group world records to Kona. Go longer with the right fuel at the right time with S-Fuels.
Spread a little aloha around the world at Breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome, everybody. Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas. S-Fuels Go Longer, Hoka Let's Fly, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot, the original triathlon brand, Premium Plus Sports, Quintana Roo, Mission Pacific Hotel in beautiful Oceanside, and, of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. In our first 30 years, we've raised over $147 million to keep challenged athletes in the game of life through sport. We've sent out over 40,000 grants to athletes in all 50 states, in 73 countries, and more importantly, in 104 different sports. A young man who is a 10-time Ironman finisher, adoption advocate, and he is qualified for Ironman World Championships. Mr. Sam Karliner joins us from his beautiful estate back east. How you doing, Sam?
I am doing great today, Bob. So glad to be with you here. Really quite the honor.
Well, thank you so much for taking time. So growing up, what were your sports?
I was primarily a runner through high school.
Yeah.
Played a little bit of football when I was a little younger than that. Enjoyed it, and then all of a sudden everyone got bigger and I got knocked down. I was the fastest pulling guard out there, but size was not blessed with the size of a lineman. So yeah, I was a runner.
A runner? Yeah.
I was a runner, played hockey. Actually played hockey as an adult for quite a while.
Yeah.
Got banged up a lot though. So
So when you found triathlon, what, 2011?
Yeah.
You couldn't swim, didn't own a bike.
Correct.
And talk a little bit about making that transition, because that's something that a lot of us do later in life. It's like we find this silly sport with three different things in it, and usually we come in with one. We know how to run, but we don't know the other stuff.
Sure, I knew how to run, and I was competed in many marathons, a couple a year. I was doing well in my age group, and as a kid in the late 70s, early 80s, I had always seen Kona on TV.
Yeah.
What was Ironman? And I just had this crazy thought of, what is my body truly capable of? What could I really do? And how much, could my mind help control what my body needs to go through? And I went back to Ironman, and I jumped 2 feet in and started out with a full at 140.6. And
wait. Your first triathlon was a full?
It was.
You are a crazy man.
Go figure, go home.
Which triathlon was your first?
Lake Placid.
Lake Placid up in New York.
New York. Nobody told me that nutrition and things like that were really important.
So you suffered a little bit.
Oh, I suffered tremendously. In fact,
yeah.
We have a picture. Well, I knew it was bad. Somewhere around, I don't know, maybe 90 miles into the bike, people were passing me, and I noticed that everyone had these huge salt lines all over their bodies.
Yeah.
It was a really hot day. And I'm like, oh, but not me. And I look down, and I am covered in these
salt. Yeah. Yeah.
And I start running, and Lake Placid has that turnaround at the halfway point. And I passed my wife, and I said, what should I do? Should I keep going? I think I'm dying out here. And so it was maybe another 3 or 4 minutes till I passed her again. And she tells this story that she panicked, and she's calling people. He said, what should I do? If I tell him to stop, he's going to hate me the next day.
Of course.
He said, kept going. And like every true endurance athlete, I was never going to do this again. until I was 100 yards from the finish line.
You know, it's so funny you say that. I just listening to an old interview we did with Lionel Sanders from 2015, and he talked about his first Ironman at Louisville. And the whole last hour, he's going, "This is the stupidest thing I ever have done. I will never do this again." And then by that later, that next morning, he's thinking about, I can go faster.
And he does.
Exactly. So that's what happened with you. You were like, I'll never do this again. And then it's okay, I need to do this, and I need to do it right.
I need to do it. I need to do it right. And to be honest, when I woke up the next morning, I was super charged and excited. But I felt like I missed out on a little something, because I noticed all these other people that were using Ironman and their journey as a platform for a cause that was really greater than they were.
Right.
And that's how I was able to connect my support of adoption into my Ironman training and racing.
So talk a little bit about that, because we talk about this sport, and it's a sport that is addictive. For one, you need to get your workouts in every day, and it's selfish, right? You go, you swim, you bike, you run. Having something that you're doing it for, having a purpose behind swimming and biking and running a lot of miles, makes you realize that this sport gives back, and this sport supports other people. Why? What was it about adoption that obviously spoke to you?
So for starters, and most importantly, it's how I formed my family. So my children are adopted.
Yeah.
So I have a very strong connection to it. The agency that I raised funds for are the people that started were the ones who helped us create our family. So it just, in the early stages of myself being involved in Ironman, it just seemed like a natural
absolutely
fit. And, I can remember my early letters that I would send out. I told people, as you said, sometimes it seems like a very selfish sport. We put in all these hours of training. Yep. People that would donate and support me, I would write their name down on a big sticker, and I'd put it on my bike frame. I'd say, "You're along for the ride with me."
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And as you know, it's a long day. It's a long day. And, looking down on the frame of my bike, or knowing my kids' names written on my shoes, that these people are there behind me, gives me different levels of motivation throughout the day. So I really pull from it a lot.
It's interesting too, because you think about it, most of the time when you're going out at training, you're going out away from your family, right? You're leaving a family behind, but you're doing it so that other people will understand the need. So there's a lot of kids out there who need help and support. And that's what you're doing, is you're bringing attention for those. A lot of people don't know a lot about adoption, and you're creating awareness, which is really important.
Which is exactly what I wanted to do, because, as you said, a lot of people don't know. I speak to people and they go, "Oh yeah, I have a friend that's adopted." I mean, most people don't wear it on the sleeve. "Hi, I'm Sam, I'm adopted."
Right.
But the education and awareness that I'm able to bring to let people know that it's a really wonderful and loving option that's out there for the people that want to be adoptive parents. It's a wonderful, viable, loving option for the women who choose adoption for whatever reason, that they're unable to parent a child.
Yeah.
It's something that's tremendous out there. And as I'm doing this, the more and more of what I've learned is that people in the medical community, doctors, nurses, social workers, those connected with hospitals, they don't even realize that it's an option, because sometimes a woman may come to them, maybe even in labor, and they don't want to parent their child and keep this child. And that frontline person doesn't have the knowledge and the information to counsel the person, even suggest that this might be a very viable option. So in the work that I've done, getting the word out there, helping raise money for education on all of those different fronts, really, I think, has done a tremendous job helping to get the word out there. And people, like you said, in the triathlon community are incredibly supportive bunch of people.
Yep.
And I have met some wonderful people. I wear it on my jersey, and I get cheers from not just the sideline, but I'll pass somebody on the run, or somebody will pass me on the bike, and my kid's adopted, or hey, good for you, or just don't wait till I'm done to ask me for information. That's the only thing I ask.
So it's Forever Families.
Forever Families through adoption. It's located in Rybrook, New York, but its reach is national, if not international. It's foreverfamiliesthroughadoption.org.
Okay.
Get more information and see families that have been created and whatnot. And that's what I'm doing.
I love that. And probably the best thing is when you find out that, hey, I found out about adoption through you, and now I've adopted a child. That has to be like the coolest feeling.
It is just incredibly rewarding. And I can't tell you how, when you go to a race and you've been to so many, people are so focused on the race. And the day before, I was in Austin and I met a bike tech who I was able to put in touch with, Forever Families Through Adoption. It came up and they saw the words, and we had these great conversations. And, I meet somebody who meets somebody, and Ironman has been wonderful in supporting me.
Right.
They have their own foundation, but they support our other foundation, other causes as well. And it's really been a wonderful relationship.
So you've done 10 Ironman so far. You have an 11th on the docket. Is it Ironman World Championship in Nice? Is that the next one?
Well, so I've had a little accident there on my bike. So I've actually had 2 operations on my clavicle, and I have a third coming up in May. So I chose to defer Nice to
Kona.
Yes.
Oh, for 2024. Well, that gives you plenty of time to train.
Plenty of time to train, but I will have a long distance one in the fall. I'm thinking Cozumel.
Oh, well, if you're going to go somewhere, you might as well go somewhere warm.
I might as well. I figured my argument was it's good training to get ready for the heat and humidity of Kona. So
exactly. Now, how old are your kids?
My kids now are grown. They're my boys are twins. They're adopted, so they're 27 years old. And if work allows it, they'll be in Kona too.
Well, and they must really enjoy the fact of what you're doing, that you bring attention.
They do. They're incredibly proud of what I do and supportive of what I do. And it's interesting because they're older children, they're adults, right?
Right.
And in my fundraising, nowadays, social media is king. And they're able to post on Instagram. This is what my dad's doing. They're able to post. And it's a whole, again, the 6 degrees of separation that they're able to put it out there, and they're able to be advocates also is truly, it's just a wonderful, almost like a partnership.
Well, really it's cool. A full circle too. You are the adopting parents, and they're the adoptees, and we're working together, and they obviously have a different circle on social media than you do.
much,
right?
Absolutely.
So they're creating awareness as well. For what you're doing, and I'm sure reaching out to their friends' parents and others of their age who now are aware as they start their own families.
Right,
you never know who you're going to reach. That's what's. I always say the triathlon's a small sport with a huge heart. It's one of those things that we obviously we started our Challenge Athletes Foundation through Ironman back in the day. 30 years now, and it's been unbelievable. It's just our people understand that you have a platform as an athlete, because a lot of people who got into the sport at the age of 47, you're representing that this is a lifetime sport. You can get into this thing at 47 and you could still be racing at 87. That's what's so great about it. When you combine swim, bike, and run, and then you combine it with growing your family or building a family, it's pretty wonderful.
Right. Like you said, if I can play just the smallest role in that, that's so rewarding. And the people that support me help that, which is truly amazing.
So what was the toughest part for you getting into the whole triathlon thing, coming from a running background? Obviously, you're thinking, I don't have to worry about running. I've run some marathons. But that swimming and cycling sometimes negates whatever running skill you thought you had.
Correct. I would say... In the very beginning, it was the swim.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was obviously it was the swim for me. I was a runner, I was a sinker, not a floater.
Yep.
So it took quite a while. But then as my swimming improved and my biking definitely improved, I had to learn that triathlon was a sport of all three, as opposed to three individual events. I
Right.
can't go out and kill it in the run. I mean, kill it in the swim, or survive the swim and kill it in the bike. And because my running is my strength. So how can I run? How can I bike at that 85% level so I can have a great run? How
So you
can I
can still,
swim,
yes,
push
exactly.
myself? And that took quite a few races. That was a very interesting learning curve.
The puzzle, the Ironman, the triathlon puzzle is really interesting because whatever you do, you swim a minute faster, you lose 2 minutes on the bike.
Right.
You ride 3 minutes faster, you lose a minute a mile in the run.
Which is
Or
tremendous.
you miss a handoff, you miss a gel, you miss your drink, you get a flat, a wind. There's so many, which makes it fun because there's so many different intangibles that you have to take into account.
And I think the more I've raced and the more I've trained, the more I've learned to be able, and I guess the same is true in life, be able to adjust on the fly, and that, that you have plan A when the day starts. B and C better be ready. And, D and E, you don't know what they are, but you better figure it out quickly. And that's sort of a little bit, like you said, almost like the puzzle also.
Exactly.
Sometimes you can have the perfect day, and when you really break it down, it didn't go according to plan, but you managed it well.
Yes, you did. That's the coolest part. What have you looked at when you look at your races? What's been your best race so far?
Certainly the first time I qualified at Lake Placid for Kona. That was always qualifying. Probably by my second full Ironman, I had this elusive dream of qualifying for the World Championships. And what I realized, as my coach always says, you never know who shows up on race day. Just do your best, right?
Yep.
Have the best race you can. And as I began to get better and better in my age group, I would get to, I'd be finishing in the low teens.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that, I could break the top 10, but 10 to 5, that's one
Huge.
level. But 5 to 3 or 2, that's something else. And then 1 and 2, that's, So yeah, I had a good swim. I knew where I was on the bike because I had my teammates that were out there supporting us. And I was having a really good run. And I kind of was just taking the segments and just kept on pace, and my nutrition was going really well. And sometimes if the nutrition's going well, I'm almost more impressed with how well my day is because of that. And then with about 3 miles left, I passed a teammate who said, "You're in second." I left everything out there. No one was going to pass me. So that was certainly one of the highlights. But there are just so many just tremendous memories of
Yes.
My own racing, as well as other experiences that I walk away from. There was, and look, I'm sure you've had countless, but I was at a race, had a good day, finished a little over 11 hours, had dinner, showered. We were back at the finish line around 10:30, 11, watching the final people come in. Everyone's cheering. And this woman comes around the final bend. It's maybe 11:15, and she's 100 yards. She's hitting the red carpet. And somebody reaches over the fence and hands her a sign. And she holds it up, and it says, "I have MS, but MS doesn't have me."
Oh, wow.
I get chills still repeating that. And she crossed that finish line with the biggest smile on her face. And I turned to my wife and I said, "I had a fast day, but talk about a champion, talk about a winner."
Exactly.
All right. So I was quick, big deal.
Look what they overcame.
That's impressive.
Well, over the years, I've been involved with the Ironman forever. And I always say it's an equal opportunity abuser. It doesn't care. Right? If you're missing a leg, if you're got MS, if you're in a wheelchair, come on out here, get from point A to point B, and you're an Ironman. Period.
And that's what's so incredible.
Very simple.
Right. And that's what's so incredible about the sport is that, when you run a marathon, especially a New York or Boston, yes, you've come to the starting line with pros, but you don't see them.
Never. No.
In a triathlon, I see them on the bike. If it's a loop run course, you see them. Maybe they pass you,
But,
then to have pros at the finish line, hours later,
yep.
sort of giving back to what, here I am, and I have a pro out there congratulating me as I come across the finish line, giving me a medal. Like you said, it's a special community.
What's great about it is, and it's funny, one of the things I've enjoyed from doing the interviews for so long is I think the average age grouper thinks, okay, this pro was identified when they were 7 or 8 years old, just like LeBron James or some soccer player. And they were, they had a coach, and they were sort of ushered into being a pro, and that's what they did. And then when they listen to the interview and they hear a Sky Monch on the show, and we're doing the interview from St. George Worlds, and we're in Zion's Bank, and she's like, I was a teller at Zion's Bank. And like, what? Says, yeah, my parents told me when I was graduating high school that they couldn't afford to pay for college for me. So if I wanted to go to college, I would have to work and pay my way myself. So I cleaned houses and I worked as a teller at Zion's Bank and graduated with my CPA and owed nothing. And, then she finds out she's talented at this tri thing, and puts the CPA thing on hold for a while. But most of our folks weren't identified as elite athletes. They sort of fell into it just like you did, just like everybody else. And when you finish the race and you're sitting there eating pizza or drinking a beer, next to you is Jan Frodeno or Lionel Sanders. And you could talk to them about, how was the win for you at Javi? How was what was it like for you going up Pay and Save Hill? They were on the same course at the same time. Not like you can't go to the Masters and play golf with Tiger Woods, and you can't go hit balls with Roger Federer, but at Wimbledon. But you can be at the Ironman World Championship starting line with the greatest athletes on the planet, and your space is just as important as their space, and your race is just as important as their race. That's part of what makes our sport special.
Absolutely, and it's what I think helps give everyone that feeling of this tremendous sense of the accomplishment, sort of the self win. So many people say that just getting to the starting line is such a big achievement. And as you've said, when you interview some of the pros, it's true for them too, right? They have the same injuries, and while they may dedicate more, they don't have that day job,
right?
that I wish sometimes gets in the way of training. They have to battle through, and 140.6. They're covering the exact same miles we are, same heat, same humidity, go back to St. George a couple of years ago, same hailstorm.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't know when when I'm interviewing them during Kona week, that's what the age group and the pro have in common. If it's a sprint race, they know they're finishing the race and they're going fast. But you don't know, they could have a bike problem. They could cramp. Jan Frodeno's back could seize up. That nobody knows when you go to the starting line that morning what that day is how it's gonna unfold. You don't know if you're gonna finish, if you're not gonna finish, if you're gonna have the best day of your life, the worst day of your life. That unknown is what ties everybody together and what makes the sport so special.
Sure, and to hear you say that reminds me when you asked me a question before about moments. It's that moment in transition before the race starts, where everyone is so excited. But everyone, and you're there with everyone, knows that this is going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Everyone. I had done about 6 or 7 fulls before I did my first 70.3. And the morning of the 70.3, we were down in Miami. It was a party. Everyone's happy. And I realized this is, it's not just half of the full. It's a different race.
Totally different race. Yeah. And they all know that they're not dealing with headlamps. They're not dealing with as much nutrition issues. They know that if they're doing a 56-mile bike ride, if they've trained and done a 30-miler, they can fake their way through. If you're doing a 13-mile run, you've run 6 or 7. Okay, I can fake it. You can't fake Kona. You can't fake it.
Right. Your nutrition's a little off.
You'll fake it a little bit in a 70.3 just to get through it. So it's like you said, it's a different crowd. And then if you start doing the races I do, the sprint races, where we're being in a beer garden at 9 o'clock in the morning is all that matters, that's a really different crowd. Sam, congratulations on everything you're doing. Heal up from the shoulder, man. That's
Yes, I will. It's getting there. I gotta be patient. Be patient.
Give me the website again for if people want to find out more information on Forever Families
Through Adoption. It's Forever Families Through Adoption.org.
Love it. Sam Karliner has been our guest. Sam, thank you so much for taking time, and best of luck with your training and racing.
Fantastic. And 2024, I'll check in for breakfast one morning.
I love it. It'll be great. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We will catch you next time. See ya.